You gonna get this party started?
Yep. Hey, we are live. Hello, internets.
Well done.
We did it. Now I got something in my eye and I can't see. Okay. Oh, my little fellow is sideways. Okay, let's start a podcast, shall we?
Sure.
And here we go. Well, thanks for finding us on the interwebs on a Thursday night. This is Caching in the Northwest. This is the only podcast dedicated to geocaching in the great Pacific Northwest. We're going to talk about caches and cachers unique to this little corner of the country. So while you're still shopping for school supplies, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
That's right. And that means it's time. Yes, it's time to bring in our recently road-weary monkey. You know, some say the definition of a challenge cache is caching with him. And others say he dreams in Scottish. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
I am. I don't know how to say that in Gaelic, but I could dream it, I'm sure.
Okay.
I will know. Well, you know what, folks? Not only am I back here in Land Monkey Studios with good old buddy Buckland here and everything else, but we have a special guest tonight, and that is Medicine Man of Seattle. So welcome to the show.
Oh, he's muted.
Oh,
great. There we go. Unmuted. Thank you very much. I apologize. My video seems to be cutting in and out, so it might be my bad connection here. Or too many.
We just blame
devices.
the Googles.
Right, exactly. So
we can hear you just fine, and that's what's important.
Perfect. The stop motion animation that people may see at the last minute.
That's right. Lego minifigs. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We're excited to have you on here. And we also want to thank our faithful Denali level supporters. That's Limax, Team Squirrel, and worldcaching.com. Now, folks, if you want to know more about supporting this podcast right here, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. Now, the reason that Alex is joining us is because tonight we're going to talk about first aid on the trail. However, before we get started, as you all know, geocaching.com has spent many hours messing up, updating your profile page, and Caching in the Northwest wants to also mess up your profile page. So why don't you submit a glow or a geocaching log of the week to get your very, very own glow badge that you can put on your profile page.
That's right. So whether you read it or whether you wrote it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply makes geocaching better. Send an email to feedback@cachingnw.com. You can always call into 253-693-TFTC or use that handy voicemail tool right there on the website and show us how you glow.
Yes, and this week, is it Notosaurus? Showed us how they glow. Contributed the geocaching log of the week. Says, I had another poem I'm proud of, but I don't know if people read it or read it. It was on Talk Like a Pirate Day in 2016.
One of my favorite days.
Yes, it is. I can tell. The poem used links to span 5 different logs. That may have been my mistake, but it told the story of our logging that day if we were pirates. It starts on GC 630M8, and I'll try to do it justice, even though I've got no rum, laddies. So we'll see. Listen, ye lovers, I'll tell ye a tale. We wanted adventure, so we just set sail on Talk Like a Pirate Day 2016 to look for some booty. Too little we've seen. The first is DNA 1003. We took it easy. No resistance there be. So looking for glory, we sought for the blues with only the cords, for we had no clues. The captain and first mate stepped onto the shore, dreaming of booty and perhaps a bit more. The dog started barking, waking the lubbers, who doubtless would come with well-honed sabers. The best part of valor is running away and return for our booty on some other day. Mending our wounds and cursing our loss, memories of failure overboard we toss. We'll take no quarter, all hands are ready. On to be happy, course straight and steady. Just one full broadside of grape shot it was, and be happy booty be ours, because buccaneer swabs, they be proud. Booty in our hands, we can sing aloud. After be happy, we set sail again, looking for hidden tea, stinking of gin. No room to maneuver in this simple alley. We don't want a broadside from some hidden galley. But there be no seamen, no cannons, no ship or ale. Quietly set getting our booty back to our ship, and onward we sail. Sailing for Soccer City, tongue wagging to say, what better way is there to end Pirate Day? Second time for this, but we have the map and instructions to get there. It should be a snap. 4 paces north and again to the south, one pair of orders comes out of my mouth. This booty is ours, and a plenty there be. Timbers fans be good swabs, and 2 fans are we. That is me tale, oh booty I found on this Pirate Day, till next time I'm round.
Very well done, Wits End.
I'm not sure if it was pirate or Scottish or just some other weird thing in there. It was just something gravelly, and I don't know.
Scottish pirate?
Yeah, sure. Is that a Skyrit? No.
Pirish. Now, if you want to share a great poem that you've written, or maybe a milestone cache that you're celebrating, why not call it into 253-693-TFTC and share it with the entire NorthWest community? Of course, there's a voicemail tool on the website, but I want to share a voicemail we got from TickMag. So let's take a listen.
Hello, caching in the Northwest. Tick Magnet here to share a milestone. As I arrived at the Going Ape event, I had 3 open months on my Jasmer calendar. So on the way to the Ape cache, I grabbed Iron Horse for October of 2000. Next, I did the mystical hike to Monte Cristo for November of 2000. What an awesome adventure that was. Made even more special by experiencing the solar eclipse on the way out. After that, I hit the road for Potter's Pond in August of 2000 to complete Jasmer. I was surprised when I opened the logbook to see that Land Monkey was the last one to sign the log. Along the way, I stopped at Roslyn, did the webcam at Leavenworth, hiked to GCD, and braved ankle-deep water for the T5 Island cache, many of which I would not have even known of if not for your podcast. It was also great to meet Wit and Brylang and many of the regulars from the chat room, the show, and HQ. Thanks for a fun and informative show.
Well, thank you, Tick Magnet. I'm sorry that I didn't get to see you at the Ape event. I think we were at opposite ends of a tunnel.
Yeah, that's because you actually did the Ape cache in the tunnel, and lame old me stayed behind at the tent. But
somebody had to keep the tent from blowing away.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Saved the tent.
We did literally have to catch the tent, thanks to the IHAM clan for that. But yeah, it was a pleasure to meet Tick Magnet, and thanks for stopping by and saying howdy and meeting a lot of other great people there too.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And just to add into that, actually, if you go to any geocache in the Northwest, and the previous person who signed the log before you get to it will be me.
Pretty much true.
It's funny, as I leave the cache, most of the time the last name I see in the log is mine for some reason. I'm not sure how that works.
I just want to say your glow of the week really reminded me about a Northwest adventure that I used to do. There's the sea chanty songs that get together at the Mohi Museum and the Center for Wooden Boats here. And one of the best songs I've heard is Being a Pirate. and it goes, "Oh, it's all part of being a pirate. You can't be a pirate with all of your parts. Being a pirate is all fun and games till somebody loses an ear. Oh, it drops on your neck. It falls on the deck. And when someone says, 'Hey, what's that air?' Well, you can't wear your glasses. You don't attract the lasses. And folks have to shout. So you'll hear, being a pirate is all fun and games until somebody loses an ear." And then progresses just from choruses, and most of them stay PG. And then as you make them up, you lose a what's it and a who's it and some other things, and so it bubbles down and quickly becomes R-rated.
Well, you know what though, that fits in really well with tonight's theme. I think.
Yeah,
I would hope so.
Oh, is tonight's theme losing body parts?
It's what to do when you do lose body parts.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know, but you got comments in the chat already.
At least know how to sew them on.
Love it.
Awesome.
Oh. There's a little bit of news we want to get to, and this one just caught my eye. It's not NorthWest news, but it's odd, and I think that fits our podcast. So the article starts off, the first Chernobyline Art Festival wants to bring people together who are not indifferent to the history of the exclusion zone and also unite the world community in studying the theme of Chernobyl and its history. With the help of music, arts, and various forms of activity, the festival will be about the catastrophe and at the same time given an opportunity to look at it from a different angle. The three main directions of the festival will be geocaching, a tourist game that with the use of satellite navigation systems, urbexing, industrial tourism, visiting, researching, and studying abandoned buildings and cities, as well as art and photography. During the 3-day festival, visitors will be able to listen to the lectures of the participants and witnesses of the Chernobyl disaster, as well as go on a unique excursion to the most interesting places of the exclusion zone, including the town of Pripyat. So, who is ready to go geocaching in Chernobyl?
Heck yeah, I'll go.
So, I mean, I don't know a lot about the current state of Chernobyl, and I don't know if anybody on the podcast does, but I mean, they're referring to it as the exclusion zone as well still. And I think like it sounds like they're going into the exclusion zone, so it can't be that dangerous anymore.
I happen to know that Pripyat is in the there are 3 levels to the excursion zone. There's the 30 meter or 30 kilometer, the 10 and the 5 kilometer exclusion zones. Each one has increasing levels of radiation, obviously, but there's still a good amount of radiation there.
I'm fascinated by it. I've watched YouTube videos of drone flybys and footage through there and people that have gone and shot footage there, and it really is fascinating.
I mean, it's really a time capsule. It's kind of post-apocalyptic in the fact that, everything that was there is still there. I mean, people just left. They didn't take their stuff with them.
And it's a real example of how, foliage and wildlife takes over when abandoned. So, yeah, it would be fascinating to go. And, how they used to carry canaries in coal mines to check for lack of oxygen and stuff. I think when you go to Chernobyl, you just carry like packs of microwave popcorn with you, I guess. And when they're done, you have to leave.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how
or
that
maybe
works.
geocachers are the canaries in the coal mine.
That could be too.
Thinking with the popcorn, at least you get a snack.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's compact and lightweight when you go in. It's fully cooked by the time you reach.
Warm and fluffy on the way
Yeah,
out.
by the time you reach the cache, the popcorn's ready to go.
Okay, but do you get a geocoin?
It's a glow in the dark.
I was gonna say it glows in the dark. Yeah.
But
yeah, it's
everything there, I think, glows in the dark.
all the little numbers on there are written in or painted in radium or something, like an old clock. Hey, well, maybe you don't want to go caching in Chernobyl. I do, but maybe nobody else does. But maybe you're listening and you want to complete the Rainier Geo Tour. Anybody out there want to do that? You're on the clock. Remember that Geo Tour, time's ticking. it closes October 31st. And as we record this, it is, well, by my watch, August 31st, is it not? So what's that, 60 days away?
Mm-hmm.
Sections of the mountain, that's Mount Rainier for those of you that aren't following along and reading the playbook at home. Sections of that mountain where you need to find those caches may close earlier depending on weather. And boy, this year we've had weather. So go get those 100 caches, your 4 path tags, and your geocoin while you still can.
That's right. Now, I have had reports from cachers that say Highway 410, is closed in the daytime from milepost 69 to milepost 84 due to forest fires. And now the daytime cleanup activity. The road is open only at night with no stopping. So that makes my Earth cache right now unfindable. So.
Unless you're just really, really committed.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, I'm going to pull over there anyway. So what's a ticket or two for a geocache? I mean, come on.
I was thinking just, inventing a teleportation device or renting a helicopter or something.
There you go. Renting a helicopter would be easier. Maybe a drone.
There you go. Well, I mean, if folks have already found, are there any other caches on the Geo Tour that are in that proximity, or is it just your Earth cache?
I don't know exactly. I haven't looked at a map to see where milepost 69 to 84 is.
Fair enough.
So I know my particular cache falls in there. At least that's what people are telling me.
Well, there you go. So yeah, I mean, that's, definitely a section that you can't go into, but it is a massive area that Geo Tour covers. And
how do you know?
Sorry?
How do you know?
Because we completed it this summer. In fact, I got an email this morning. That said that our path tags and our coin are in the mail.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. So we're looking
Don't worry, your
forward to
check
that.
is in the mail too.
Yes, that's what I heard. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we've talked like pirates. We've talked about Chernobyl and Mount Rainier. We've covered a lot of territory while our patient guest, although he did contribute a song, has sat patiently by here. And Alex, thanks for joining us and thanks for your patience as we get through our glow, our news, and all the other laundry list of things we need to do. Now, we've met several times on the trails and geocaching events, including Monte Cristo. That was a fun hike. But we want to welcome you to the podcast, and thanks for coming on tonight.
Great. Thank you for inviting me. This is a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, your song makes it so much more fun. I mean, I don't know if we've had a guest come on and sing before.
Well, I do what I can. So, we'll do the dance by the end. Yeah, we'll do a jig or something like that.
Nice.
Depends on which body parts you lose by then.
Exactly. Which one's got to be sewn on or fallen off, or the glasses still kept on.
Nice. Well, we brought you on the show because we wanted to talk about first aid, and that's kind of an area of expertise for you.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm a pediatrician at one of the clinics here in the Northwest with Pacific Medical Centers. And I see kids of all ages, all sorts of injuries, and do a lot of different office procedures for those that are more adventurous and sustain certain injuries, and those that are involved in sports. So we definitely see a lot.
Nice.
And luckily, a lot of those translate to adult medicine as well. So I can help all the kids at heart when we're out on the trail, make sure that they have a healthy, happy, and fun geocaching adventure.
That's right. Sorry, IHAM says in the chat, it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye. Then it's a game called Find the Eye.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's not play that game, okay?
No, it's not. Yeah.
So, Alex, you were out with us on the Monte Cristo hike. And, it was kind of during this time that I thought, we should talk about first aid. Now, when you're out hiking, according to REI and several other websites, you should have 10 essentials with you at all times. That is navigation, hydration, nutrition, insulation, fire starter, first aid kit, tools, illumination, sun protection, and shelteration. No, just shelter. But I want to focus on the sixth one, first aid kit tonight. That's one thing that I admit I lack when I went out on the hike. I did not bring a first aid kit with me. I didn't even think of it. It didn't enter my mind. When we went out on this hike, you know, it was all fun and games until we had one of our hikers slip and injure her hand. So that's when, you know, you actually kicked into gear, and we sure appreciate your help in that
Very
situation.
much.
Yeah. Well, you know, like anything, I mean, we want to make sure that it's a fun adventure for everybody involved. We want to make sure that it's safe. What I want to say, though, is that, you know, it took more than just me. I mean, we probably had 3 or 4 different geocachers who opened up their first aid kits and contributed their ideas. And here's a splint, here's the scissors, I have some tape. You know, I think it goes to show that, you know, we were on a very level part of the trail. We were not being chased by bears. It was just one bad stumble, something that was unpredictable. And luckily that there were enough cachers on the hike who had some supplies and equipment that could help contribute. I think, Chris, I think you probably hit the nail on the head that there are probably a lot of geocachers who don't have a first aid kit, who don't think about bringing a first aid kit, and probably haven't experienced any need for a first aid kit. And that's always a dangerous situation to be in. So I would
really
go
is.
ahead. Yeah.
And the fact that I think we got parts from 3 different first aid kits made me wonder, what should I be carrying in a first aid kit? There's so much that could happen on a hike. I mean, we could do a bee sting, a bug bite, sprain, broken bones, blisters, you know, cuts, concussions, you know, dehydration, poison ivy. I mean, the list just goes on and on, everything that can happen. So short of having an ER on hand, is a standard off-the-shelf first aid kit enough?
I would say that a lot of the standard first aid kits, if you're looking at REI or on Amazon, a lot of the first aid kits will be labeled like ultralight or day hike or 2-person. And that generally helps describe the amount of materials, equipment, bandages that will be in. Of course, the larger the packaging, the more weight you're carrying, but the more supplies you have. You know, if you can afford a very big kit, I would say purchase it. But then before you go on your hike, actually open it up, take everything out, learn what it is, learn what can be pieced together. Another important tip is to definitely know where you're hiking and possible surroundings. You know, on your list of 10 essentials, we're hiking in a large group in the middle of the day. We're probably not going to need a lot of exposure as far as heavy down jackets, but I think, you know, an emergency blanket in case somebody does slip and fall, we need to hang them out in the shade, is important. I think sunscreen is a very vital aspect that you should bring with you, whether you keep that in your first aid kit or not. What I did like, though, is that because we had so much variability in our first aid kits, that everybody could try and open up their kits and find something new and interesting to kind of help out. I don't think that you ever plan on buying a first aid kit to use it, but like I said, if you can open it up and touch everything on it, you're very familiar with what size bandages you may have, what size gauze you may have. Does it come with a pair of scissors, or do you need to supply your own knife to cut through the tape or to cut through some pieces of gauze? Will also be really helpful as well. So it's really tough to put together an exact list of this is what you must bring, short of having an ER, because the situation can be highly varied.
Yeah. Yeah. Earlier in the chat room, somebody said duct tape and vodka. What else could you need in a first aid kit?
Yeah, I mean, a small roll of duct tape is often not in a first aid kit, but it can be hugely valuable for blisters, for taping a sling together, for taping a splint to a digit, to a finger, to an arm, to a leg. I would say, you know, alcohol wipes and pads are always great ideas. That's, you know, if you have a bad cut or a wound and you need to keep it clean. Some basic medications, you know, Benadryl in case you get stung by a bee, some triple antibiotic ointment for those bad gashes that you need to bandage up, even some small tubes of hydrocortisone, some anti-steroid cream to anti-itch can definitely be beneficial as well. And then some people will go back and forth between what size gauze and should they be square or round or long. And I would say, having a coil of gauze or a coil of Coban, something like that, is a lot easier to use if you have to bandage an arm or a leg or use it together as a splint here. So I think when you do first aid on the trail, you get creative, and you get creative really quickly, which is nice.
So Alex, exactly on that point, and Chris made mention that there was an injury on the hike that we all did together. Just quick from an update point of view, did anybody ever hear back on how she was doing?
I think she sent me an email or a chat through geocaching. She said that she did have at least one fracture, went to the emergency room, had to have a second fracture identified, and had it splint, and was going to follow up with her orthopedic doctor in about a week or so. So
couple dislocations too. I think she stopped by our booth at the Going Ape event. Check in.
Perfect.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the other takeaway too is that depending on the degree of injury sustained or the amount, your first priority is the hiker's safety. I think that she realized, yes, it would be fun to reach the top, but with the dislocation and the fracture of her finger, it just would have made the entire hike unpleasant and more dangerous. So I think it's okay to call it and say, what, this mountain's not for us, or this trail's not for us this time.
Yeah.
And hit it back when you're feeling healed up and 100% better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, knowing when to call it quits is I think more important than the actual first aid kit often.
For sure. Just to address one of the questions that came up in the chat from Tracy at World Caching, she asked if we're going to differentiate between a 10 essentials kit and a first aid kit. And so, on this episode, we started off by mentioning the 10 essentials, but really we're going to focus on the first aid kit and first aid skills.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the 10 essentials. It's one of those things that I like to bring up again and again. If you're going out on a hike, have the 10 essentials. The first aid kit is one of them, and that's what we're going to focus on tonight.
Yeah. So Alex, a question for you. Now, you mentioned a few of the sort of key things to look for in a first aid kit. If somebody goes into, if you're up here into Canadian Tire, if you're south of the border, wherever you happen to go, and REI, wherever, and you're looking to pick up a first aid kit. So is there like some sort of key to it, like language that would be labeled on the first aid kit to go, okay, this is a good enough one to take with me on my day hikes?
And again, a lot of them will talk about, either a number of person or a trip kind of key. REI tends to do that really well, a 3-person first aid kit, It just means that there's more stuff in it. I think the most important thing, though, is, like I said, open it up and then feel free to add to it. The first aid kit that you buy is the minimum. It's not the absolute. So you should feel comfortable, on your prior experiences. If you need a pair of tweezers to add to it, easily, that's worth the $2 to add to your first aid kit and carry it around. Something that's lightweight and easy. Some of the car first aid kits are also really great. Again, you start to move into something just a little bit smaller than a bread box, which tends to be a little bit more challenging for the hike, but that's a perfect starter kit that if you wanted to rip that open, take out your Ziploc bags and restuff your own personal first aid kit for your hike, that's a great idea. And I like the idea of first aid kits that you can easily see what's in it, or that has a card that lists in detail what is in it, the types of medicines, the size of bandages. A lot of times that just saves you a lot of extra time, trouble, hassle of going through things as well.
Yeah, and it kind of gives you that inventory of, oh, this is what I should have in here. Let me make sure that I've replaced everything I've used.
Yeah, and I would say anytime you use anything out of your first aid kit, think about restocking it and think about, adding something new. Something that you saw somebody else have on their first aid kit, something that you saw somebody else use at the first aid kit, because you just never know. Again, you're kind of planning for the unknown, and this just gives you that opportunity to say, you know what, yeah, that small pair of, Uncle Willie's tweezers, that would work perfect, to get those splinters out, or, to get that bee sting out, or that to remove that tick. So something simple like that.
That's a great idea. One of the things that I carry a first aid kit, a small one on me all the time. And one of the things I don't have in there that it didn't occur to me until that hike at Monte Cristo that would be easy enough to throw in a small first aid kit and really be handy to have is a couple of popsicle sticks to use as splints, which I believe that's what we used as a splint, or
Mhm.
what you used, Alex, as a splint on the trip.
Yeah, so the popsicle sticks or tongue depressors, the larger size ones. If you go to the craft stores, you can find the really traditional, tiny, quarter of an inch. This was probably more half-inch or bigger size, and that just works perfect for fingers, for thumb splints. They do sell kind of the pre-made, what are called SAM splints, which are basically kind of harder, much nicer to use for kind of elbows or arms or legs for kind of more severe splints.
Yeah, and those pack down pretty good. I watched a good number of first aid kit videos this week. What should be in there, and I'm amazed. There was one that the gal went to the dollar store and really picked up all the essentials for the first aid kit inexpensively. Good start. It wasn't a perfect first aid kit, but it was a good start.
Yeah, if you're willing to spend the time and energy, you can kind of put things together. My wife had also mentioned feminine hygiene products work really nicely as absorbents for larger cuts. So not only for their intended purpose, but also for other quick acting bleeds and cuts here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've heard of those being used for wound treatment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Yeah, there are also clotting agents, but those can have some negative effects on certain people. So you may not want to use those powdered clotting agents on everyone.
Yeah, so I think the takeaway is that there can be a lot of variability for a first aid kit. And again, knowing kind of the terrain, the distance you're going to be is going to be the main takeaway. If you're out kayaking, your first aid kit's probably going to be a little bit different than if you're out hiking. And I think your first aid kit should help complement your other 10 essentials as well. So, again, having the proper exposure equipment, having the proper navigation equipment or signaling equipment. And I think, the other takeaway too is, always let somebody know where you're going hiking, who's not going hiking with you, in case you don't return, in case you need to, pull your spot locator, or, you get within cell range and you need to pick up. That's probably one of the best first aid things to do. First of all, leave your contact numbers. I'm going to be at this trailhead. If you don't hear from me in, 2 days, don't wait longer. Come find me or call.
As a follow-up in the chat room, I want to say that Dormore contributes that a 17-year-old boy will not let you use feminine hygiene products on his gaping wound, no matter how much his blood he's lost. Don't ask me how I know.
Right. If you let him pass out, it doesn't matter then. Or you could just encourage him, all bleeding stops eventually.
That's right.
So, Alex, what are some of the most important first aid skills that everyone should have? And are there classes that we can take, maybe from Red Cross or even REI?
Yeah, class-wise through both. Yeah, REI, Red Cross. There's a whole specialized wilderness medicine certification. Ski Patrol has certain classes for first aid in those situations. I think a lot of it is, how much are you willing to invest in your own personal time and education, how much money or travel, but also you can get a lot of enjoyment out of taking these classes because you tend to practice the first aid with instructors, with other co-students that you take as well. The first part to your question, can you remind me what it was again?
Important first aid skills. I mean, so we got the kit. What skills should we know?
Yeah, so skills. So I think the first skill to learn is take a deep breath for yourself. If somebody's injured, don't run around with your head cut off because that doesn't help anybody. The second is is this something that you can help treat on your own there, or do you need to get more assistance? Do you need to call in more hikers? Do you need to move the person to a safer spot before you begin the process of helping them? And again, these can be very small, minor, I got a bad blister on my boot, to, I tripped and fell and I can't move my leg.
Yeah, well, that brings up a good question. You've got some skills, you've got some first aid kit. It's easy to go out and feel like you're going to save the world. But how do you know, I mean, in a simple answer, how do you know when to call 911 as opposed to saying, I'm going to take care of this myself. I have my first aid card. Let me show you.
Right. Bleeding that doesn't stop with feminine hygiene products. Probably a good idea to call
Probably good,
911. Your buddy hiker who was talking to you and now is not, passed out, unconscious. Probably a good idea to call 911. Your buddy hiker who had your map and your compass and you now no longer know where you're located. Other good reason to call 911. Someone's having difficulty breathing, a heart attack, anaphylaxis from a bee sting or other wasp sting. Perfect time to call 911 and utilize what they have in their emergency kit. I think another thing too, always go hiking with a buddy if you can. I mean, I think safety in numbers is important. And then if you are a hiker who has a medical condition, a heart issue, diabetes, severe allergies to insects or bees, please let your other people around you know. Or if you have a history of seizures, if you take any special medications, I mean, just let one or two of the hikers know casually, just in case. You don't want to surprise anybody.
Right.
It seems like really good advice. Alex, another question. So we've got our first aid kits, and like myself, every once in a while it needs to be restocked because we use the basics out of there, a little bit of gauze, ointment, band-aids, etc. On a pretty regular basis. But how often should we be checking our first aid kit? And a follow-on to that was in the chat room, I think from Brian Lang. Where was it? Said, what's the best way to restock a first aid kit?
Yeah, so I mean, checking your first aid kit really is, whenever you pack your bag, you're checking it. So, making sure that you have your 10 essentials, even if you just went hiking the day before. If you've done a backpacking and you're packing up, make sure you have all your 10 essentials with you. You didn't leave anything at your campsite. If you've used anything out of your first aid kit, move it to a different pocket. Move it to when you're back to your car, move it to the front, passenger seat. So it's a visual reminder of, oh yeah, I opened it up. I need to make sure I put everything back into it that I need. For a lot of the small gauze, a lot of the small antibiotic ointments or Benadryl, REI does a pretty good job of having kind of small packets that you can just pick right off the shelf to help restock it. You can also just buy a brand new first aid kit and repurpose it, take it apart, and add back into it what you need. Amazon, of course, is always a great way to just find those little odds and ends as well.
Nice. Do you mind if we take a moment to talk about a couple common injuries that we could, discuss? So what happens if you get a bee, a wasp, or other insect sting or bite? How should you do that quickly?
Yeah, so bee stings, the stinger tends to stay within your skin. So if you have a small pair of tweezers, that's the best way to remove it. Trying it with your fingers, you actually stand probably more of a chance of breaking the stinger off or inserting it back in. With any wound like that, simple, clean, wash with water, irrigate out, try to keep it clean and dry. If you have an allergic reaction to bees, take your Benadryl then. If you have a severe allergic reaction to bee stings and make sure you have your EpiPen with you on your hike. If you do need that for anaphylaxis. Other small insect bites, mosquito bites, part of your 10 essentials or within your first aid kit, deep woods off, something that has DEET, closer to 40% is going to be long lasting. It will sweat off as you hike or if you go swimming or if you're in the water. So make sure you reapply. Loose fitting clothing that covers areas can also be helpful for keeping insects off or keeping those extra branches from swinging in your face. And then a hat, again, to kind of keep sun out of your face and eyes so you can actually see where you're going in the right direction to avoid obstacles such as wasp nests or bees nests.
Yeah. All right. So if we've covered bees, we've covered popsicle sticks for splints. What about something as simple as maybe a rash for some poison ivy or poison plants that you run into on the trail?
Yeah, so you got adventurous and you did a number 2 in the woods and you grabbed whatever's closest by to you and you wiped and you realize it's a little bit itchy. Again, I would say wash the body part area with some of your water first of all to kind of get off any of the extra saps, oils that can be from the plant. That's where your hydrocortisone, your topical steroid becomes important. So just kind of a pea-sized amount over that area can really help reduce your body's inflammation, that redness, that itching, that desire to scratch. And then remember what you used and don't use it again.
Yeah.
The woods there. You don't want to repeat the same mistake over and over.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Certainly, if you can identify what poisonous plants may be in that your area or on your hike, that's also really helpful as well. So that way you're not accidentally grabbing that 3-leafed plant that looks so pretty and you want to take a sample home.
Nice. In the Q&A we have, or the chat,
Whatever it is.
pulling back for years ago when it was Q&A. IHAM says nettles. And we learned on the last show that you can use the backside of a fern to rub on the nettles, on the area affected by the nettles, and those spores will help negate the effects.
I've not heard that particularly, but if it works for you, some of it is removing the oils and the sap, and probably giving your skin a different texture and sensation to focus on. I'd have to research that one, but it sounds reasonable to try. And I think that if once you've run through nettles, you are willing to try nearly anything to get that sensation away.
Yeah.
How true. How true. Alex, thank you. Huge amount of information tonight. Folks, you're probably going to want to go back and listen to this episode again. You know what? I'm going to promise something, and I shouldn't do this live on the air. I will
take notes, everybody.
I will post in a separate blog post what you should have in a first aid kit. And you can find that on cachingnw.com. We'll make sure we link to that. Just have something with you. At least get the basic off-the-shelf one to start with.
Yeah.
And then exactly as Alex said, watch other people. And they have that. That would make that was very useful. Let me add that. And slowly build your kit to, the areas and the type of difficulties you will run into.
Yeah, the photographers and photo blogs that I follow say the best camera in the world to have is the one you have with you, and I think that kind of applies to first aid kits as well. The best kit in the world isn't any good if it's at the store or in your car or whatever. The best one you have is the one you have with you. Mm-hmm. So have something.
Exactly.
And I think with photography, you only get better if you use your camera. I think same thing with the first aid kits is that you only get better if you've opened it up and you feel confident that you know what's in it. Yeah, and have experimented, does this tape really hold together well or not? Okay, if it doesn't, you need a new piece of duct tape or a new roll.
Mm-hmm.
And materials in first aid kits, if you've had it probably for more than 2 to 3 years, they've either dried out or, the elasticity breaks down. So it may be reasonable to replace just based on time,
Yeah, maybe go injure your friend just to use up the stuff in there.
Right. And practice.
Wait,
no. Yeah.
That's probably not. No, don't do that.
Wow. That's a good point. I don't have any friends like that. I really don't.
I think that was great advice though from Alex. First of all, at least open up the kit, play around with the stuff in there, understand what it does, how to use it, and make sure that you have at least core things in there that are going to be useful to you. And if there's something in there that's just random or doesn't work properly, Tracy from World Caching earlier made a comment about tweezers and scissors that come in the off-the-shelf first aid kits, sometimes being infamous for. Attest to that. The scissors that were in my first aid kit, the first time I went to use them, they just fell apart. It's like, well, that's not helpful.
Yeah. A good pair of fingernail scissors work really nicely, really sharp, durable. Mm-hmm. Again, the tweezers, I would not mess around with any of the plastic ones. They tend to break and warp, and you just can't get a fine point on it. You really want a good little metal tweezer that you can get down in there and take a tick head out or a stinger for a wasp or a bee. And use it for its intended purpose, not just for its color or ultra lightness on the trail.
But I like the pink.
There you go. Yeah, that's great advice. And then, like Alex was also saying that it sounds like you were saying 2 years is the max. Anything should be sitting in your first aid kit unused.
Yeah, and most of the medicines and gels may have an expiration date on that. And again, if it's been exposed to high temperatures, that tends to break down a lot of the normal oils that you need, or extreme heat really messes with elastic or with tape. So if in doubt, just replace it. It's cheap and it's easy. And again, for something that's really going to make your hike, make or break your hike and your experience and enjoyable, don't mess around with it. Just it's worth the money.
Perfect.
Exactly. Great advice tonight. I appreciate that. We've got Alex. We want you to stay around a little bit for what we call the after show.
Okay.
After show.
And we'll talk a little bit more. But we want to mention some of the upcoming episodes. Next week, we're going to talk with Peach and Pete of the Auburn GeoCoin Challenge 2017.
Nice.
Yeah, that's always a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Week after that is the Geocaching HQ update. We want to know, how was summer 2017 for geocaching? And then September 21st, we're going to do a summer 2017 hashtag geocache road trip roundup and see where we went this summer.
Nice. Everybody's going to want to stay tuned for those episodes. So, but until those episodes roll around, right now we're at this episode, and until those come around, maybe between now and then somebody wanted to reach out, connect with one of us, send us a message. We like to throw out some contact points of where people could touch bases with us. And Medicine Men of Seattle, Alex, we'd like to offer you first as our guest. Where could people find you? Where would you like people to reach you?
Where can they reach me? I think probably the easiest is through Facebook. Just searching for my name is probably the easiest that comes up. If they want to get a hold of me, send me messages. At least on the personal level. Professionally, if you're interested, pacificmedicalcenters.com/pediatrics, I think, is our landing page. Nice. that our marketing team likes us to push.
And like most of us, the messaging center on geocaching.com as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, although I find that challenging to use at times. Yeah.
All right. So instead, book appointment with pediatrics.
Or call 911. Alex,
no, don't do that just to reach Alex. It doesn't work well. Land Monkey, rescue us. Where can people find you?
All right. Not by calling 911. You know what? If you can follow us anytime on Twitter and Instagram, and sometimes even on Periscope at LandMonkeyGC. We've got photos from our most recent hashtag geocache road trip still going up on there. And so some cool stuff that we saw and places we went, sharing that. But also, of course, our blog, landmonkey.blogspot.ca. And as always, our YouTube channel. Just search Land Monkey on YouTube, and new videos seem to be coming out every week or so. So enjoy those. What's that?
They seem to be.
They seem to be. Yeah, I don't know. Not sure how it's happening, but I'm thankful it does. No. All right, Wits End, how about you, my friend?
Well, you can find me at Wits End on Twitter, Facebook, and various places like that. Photos coming up from the hashtag I didn't really do anything interesting this summer aren't going anywhere because there's nothing really there to share. But otherwise, twitter.com/witsend, Facebook, geocaching.com messaging center. For something interesting, contact Land Monkey or Chris of the Northwest. How about you?
I didn't really go anywhere this summer either. Look for an absence of pictures on Twitter, on Facebook, on Google Plus. You just never know what you won't find there. Anywhere you can find Caching NW, you'll find me. Better yet, head on over to cachingnw.com/hosts and read our bios and find all the links that we just mentioned.
That's right. Well, until those other shows coming up that Chris mentioned, we want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this here very episode of Caching in the Northwest. You can be part of the show. Call 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment. Ask us a question. Apply Band-Aids, finger splints, medication, or otherwise anytime, day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Did you know your support helps to keep quality shows coming? If you indeed like this show, please go over there and click that Patreon link on the cashingnw.com website. This show is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2017 by Chris Umpenauer. And now, hang around, stay tuned for this thing. That.
There you go. So that's the official end. You guys can stop listening now, but we know you won't.
Is there actually music there? Because I just heard static on my end.
I couldn't hear music either, Chris.
There will be music in the recording. It records locally here. If it's loud enough, it competes with the voices, and the Googles don't like that.
I just blindly stumbled on like there was actually music.
There was music. I heard music in my head.
Yeah, but that's different.
Oh, and you still hear music.
Yeah. Did you hear an electronic yodeling pickle?
No, I didn't hear that.
You just heard the sea shanty pirate song. You can't be a pirate with all your parts.
It's a very musical episode tonight.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of musical episode, from a request earlier in the chat, first to fall over when the atmosphere is less than perfect. Your sensibilities are shaken by the slightest defect. You live your life like a canary in a coal mine. You get so dizzy even walking in a straight line. You say you want to spend the winter in Firenze. You're so afraid to catch a dose of influenza. You live your life like a canary in a coal mine. You get so dizzy even walking in a straight line. Okay, apologies to the police and Sting, but there you go. Broncos fan for life. That was for you.
Wow. Nicely done.
Wow. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to save that. That's going to be your new ringtone.
Okay. That's fine with me. You have to listen to it.
True.
Oh, Broncos fan is happy.
There you go.
Hey, I always like that song.
How do you get dizzy walking in a straight line?
Oh, I can do it.
There's some other medical issues going on there.
Yeah.
I think it involves nettles and poison ivy and out-of-date expired first aid kit.
When you self-experiment with the medicines in your first aid kit inappropriately, that's what happens.
Okay.
Never first aid without a buddy, right?
There you go.
Yeah, preferably a buddy that you can outrun.
Is this Benadryl still good? I don't know. Chug a bit.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't have to outrun the bear. You just have to outrun your partner.
Oh, dear.
Land Monkey,
Yes.
Breiling is calling you out. Says,
Oh.
tell the after show what geocaching accomplishment you achieved this past week.
Singular?
Yeah, apparently.
Well, we actually achieved a few things, but
Oh, no, you have a quota. There's only one per week allowed.
I just one. Which one do I choose? We completed our Jasmer challenge this past week.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
Did you complete your Buckland challenge?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do that every
The
week.
Buckland challenge is the other side of the wall.
That's right. That's right. No, it's we had an amazing road trip. We'll talk about it more. I think 3 episodes from now.
Nice.
Two,
Get
three,
into some more details. Yeah, very cool. So lots and lots of fun. We got to explore some new parts of the U.S. and at least new parts to us. I don't think they're new parts to the U.S. Actually, I think you guys have had them for a couple hundred.
Yeah,
years.
they haven't added any new territories for a while.
Yeah. But
Hawaii was the last one.
sorry, Chris, what was that?
Hawaii was the last one we added.
There you go.
But I expect Puerto Rico to become the 51st state eventually. I think it'll happen in my lifetime.
Well, in high school, we all decided it would help our economy if we made Japan the 51st state, but I
Oh.
don't think that's going to happen either.
Well, I've heard talk as recently as last November about the possible succession of some of the states. So
A succession or a secession?
secession.
Okay.
I always do that. I always put the hard C in there. I don't know why I
That's-
do that.
Because it's the word we use more often than
Well, I'm always rude and I point out mistakes like that. And I don't know why I do that.
Oh,
Is
that's
that like adding the U in color sometimes?
Yeah.
And weird things like that appear.
Adding the X in espresso.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. We're saying
one's
Z instead of Z. Come on, everybody.
Nothing from the land monkeys.
Just, I'm trying to be polite.
Okay. Well, that is another Canadian trait.
Trying.
Trying.
Hey,
Hey,
there was a hashtag FATAS that came from IHAM.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, bring us back in, Ram Monkey. Come on.
IHAM said earlier that Monkey Cakes found an autobiography of a boyhood spent growing up in Monte Cristo at the Kent Library this afternoon.
Very cool.
So there you go. People grew up in Monte Cristo. It's
wrote
hard
about
to
it.
imagine walking there, thinking, what did this place look like in its heyday?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, the forest, the vegetation has come back and taken over what man fought back.
It really has. There's no trace at all of any gas stations or Walmarts anymore.
Mm-mm.
They're gone.
The Costco's completely wiped out.
Absolutely. No McDonald's.
What I did think was interesting is the photos they had. Once we went up above the town, or the what's remaining of the town, like where the turntable and everything was, which was so cool. I love playing around with that, pushing that big turntable around. That was cool. But when we started to hike up towards the falls, they had some plaques with photos from the time period when the town site was heavily occupied, and it was really interesting to see what it actually looked like, because it just doesn't look like that anymore. You're like, really? There was like this street with houses and storefronts here?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, when
That's
we're
fascinating.
walking down the street, I'm like, no, this is just a simple trail. This is no street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
It's
was
amazing that, what was it, a little over 100 years, maybe 150 years? And everything is gone. Just foundation remain.
Just remember, mow your lawn, right? Cut back the
That's right.
cut back the blackberries. They will come.
You can't stop blackberries, even with a mower. I'm telling you.
Machete, that should be in your first aid kit, right? One long machete, sharpened daily.
I think 3 M's in a Row has one of those.
I was going to say, you've been hiking with my group then.
I have
For the longest time, I did have a machete in my truck. And I think when I was getting ready to sell it a few years ago, I had to remember to get it out. That would be a very odd piece of memorabilia to give away.
Oh, yes, and my machete.
Yeah.
I'll throw that in for free. No, thank you.
Very cool. Was
Yes,
there anything else?
machete, craft dinner. That makes everything you need.
Yeah.
It's Canadian geocaching.
Got a picture somewhere, 3 Hams with a machete and craft dinner. What else could you possibly use? Well, he's the one that talked about duct tape and vodka and a first aid kit. So
There was somewhere, I think it was Doramore, that stood by while 3 Hams got stung by a bee.
I was with 3 Hams when he got stung. We just laughed at him. Probably not the best thing to do, but it worked.
Yeah.
He got mad and found the cache.
So there you go. There's a technique if you're looking for something.
Not necessarily first aid recommended, but he made the find. So,
And really, that's all that matters.
a success on some level.
Oh, you guys.
Oh, sorry, 3 Hams. We like you.
Yeah, Tracy says the machete is part of our 10 essentials. Sorry, that's decimal, not binary.
2 essentials. One
Two
of
is,
them
yeah.
machete. What would the other be?
Learn-
Duct tape and vodka.
reading binary.
Reading binary.
Yeah, converting binary is one essential. Carrying a machete the other.
Oh, dear. All right. Well,
Thank you so much for joining us this week. Alex, again, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Very much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm glad that I attended the hike with you guys. That was a really neat adventure. So it was nice to kind of connect with other geocachers here in the great Northwest, and I was sad that I did have to use my skills, but I was happy that I was there.
Well, we were all thankful you were there to use your skills.
Yeah.
Indeed. And thanks for sharing some great advice tonight on the podcast. Really appreciate you joining us, Alex.
Thank you much, guys.
Folks, until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.
That's right. Shush, this ball.